Absolutely. So with Africa, sort of rising and having the biggest youth population by 2050, certainly we see lots of opportunities. I'd say when we look at just the foundation of where, you can really democratize access to healthcare, to education, to financial services, and that could be with regards to payments, could be with regards to banking, even financial literacy, so many different things. But then we also have really exciting new sectors like the creative economy, creative and cultural sector, where there's so many new opportunities in music and film, in fashion, and I think everybody's sort of looking at how do we tap into these new sectors to continue to shine a light on Africa. There's certainly challenges in Africa, as I suppose there is everywhere in the world. Africa's challenges can sometimes be unique when we look across board. We have challenges with currency, high volatility. We have oftentimes very high interest rates. The regulatory environment is not always as advanced as we, at least as investors, would like it to be, which can sometimes be a bit stifling for innovation. But at the same time, we always see these new solutions that are coming out and trying to, I suppose, solve those problems. I think other challenges can oftentimes be around accessing capital, accessing funding, just not having sufficient funding flow into the continent across board to really ensure that, we can get these sectors to thrive, we can get the startups to scale, and, just continue to sort of grow as a continent. So closing the funding gap, the female funding gap, is really key. If you think about 50% of the consumer base are in fact women. So oftentimes it is the female entrepreneurs who understand what the challenges are and who understand how to build solutions for that demographic. So if we're not funding, female-led businesses, we oftentimes don't understand that we're actually immediately also excluding a big consumer base just because there's not solutions that are being tailored towards that consumer base. But also it just simply means that we don't have diversity of ideas, of approaches, and all of that. So we've got to make sure that we're much more intentional. There's been a couple of organizations that, like NGOs, who have looked at having pledges that investors pledge to have, sort of affirmative action almost with regards to investing in women. But we also have to pipeline build. We've got to make sure that there is sufficient pipeline coming out, that women are mentored, that they're led, that they, understand that there is opportunity for them to play and that there's spaces for them to, in fact, play and, present their ideas and solutions. Film, music, and fashion would be the key sectors that are certainly showing a lot of promise. Promise in different ways. One, there's actually been a little bit of a track record built now with regards to how do you commercialize these models, how do you actually monetize, but also with regards to employability, right? So now some of these sectors are actually, really being the driving forces with regards to employment. And employment in Africa is key, right? Because once you employ people, they're able to actually have livelihoods and be able to then, partake in the economy. So these sectors are actually really exciting, really rising. But we are seeing some models that are working and which we believe as investors we can actually tap into and support. Yeah, absolutely. So we can look at it probably from two different angles. We could look at it from an equity perspective, where you actually take a stake in any of these creative businesses, and then sort of look at, okay, well, you've got to be a bit more patient, and look at, well, how do we support them long term? But you do also have to then say, beyond capital, you're providing strategic partnerships and opportunities for these businesses. And then there's the debt side as well that can be an option, right? For more short-term opportunities. So for instance, if you think about film, you can go in and you can support a specific project with debt funding that can then be returned with a coupon, and everybody sort of walks away quite happy, because we have seen that there's actually quite a lot of interest from, on the consumer side with regards to the offtake of these films by the global platforms also. So, we do know that these models work and that you can actually monetize them very well. It's really important for creative businesses to understand that in order to create capital, they have to do a couple of things. One, they have to move away from a model where they are operating like SMEs. They do really need to embrace technology and look at, well, how can we actually, embed technology in everything that we're doing. That certainly will already open doors for a whole different pool of investors to come in. And then they will also need to really look at their internal structures, right? So they've got to have a business mindset as well as that creativity coming in, but they've also got to make sure that their governance is, in play, that they've got to make sure they've got those structures sorted out, and that will certainly open up the playing field. So I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the creative economy that are open-minded, but they continue to, I think, also seek in partnerships, and that will continue to build, how successful the sector will be.